Okay, I think we are live now. So, hello everyone. Good morning, good evening. I'm Sunil Kumar Das, and welcoming you all to the Sunil Show. On this podcast, we dive into the exciting world of IT and project management, where we discuss project management, product development, business analysis, to exploring the latest in trending technologies. We cover it all. So, subscribe us on the YouTube channel. Join us at the Sunil Show for your valuable knowledge and inspiration, which will help you to propel your career forward. Today, I am much excited to welcome our guest, Kyla, to the show. So, Kyla, it's a great pleasure to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Sunil.
So, how are you doing today? All good?
All good. It is bright and early here, 8 a.m. in Seattle, Washington.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we dive into the topic, why don't you quickly go ahead and introduce yourself, a bit about your background, your journey, your experience in the world of IT and project management to our audience?
Yes. So I have a bit of a non traditional background. My professional career actually started with me being a professional cake decorator for 5 years. And it was a decision that I made really out of passion. I really enjoyed making these beautiful things with my own two hands. And they were always unique, and the process of creating was very interesting and fun for me. But the passion wore out after about 5 years because I was working 70-hour weeks. I was constantly on my feet. I was getting paid barely over minimum wage for what I was doing and just had very little recognition. And it just burnt me out. And it was a series of events that really led me to getting out of that. I had this day where I had worked a 12-hour day, and that was normal. I was working a string of 12-hour days. But I was getting ready to walk out the door when I got a call from the company's chief operating officer, basically telling me that they had planned really poorly and that they just needed me to, run on back and decorate a few dozen more cupcakes for customers. And it just kind of hit me at that moment that I had been doing this thing out of passion day after day, month after month, year after year. And I was in this just dead end job. There was no upward trajectory for me, and I just wasn't getting any recognition for all of the hard work that I was putting in. And it was a really tough place for me to be because at the time, my husband was in law school. So I was the sole breadwinner bringing in all the money. And we were still paying off bills from my decision to go to culinary school. So while I got to this place where I really hated my job, it was also very scary for me to try to get out of it because I felt so stuck. I felt like I had been boxed into a corner. And I think this fear, along with a little bit of telling myself that, oh, I don't have skills to get out of this, I don't have the experience to get out of this, I'm really just stuck. It led me to try to negotiate with my boss at the time and say, look, this isn't really what I signed up for. My hours are too long. The expectations are unrealistic. And it was in that conversation with her where she told me, you did sign up for this. Now you need to deal with it or quit. And in that moment, something inside of me just snapped. And I looked at her and I said, okay, then I quit. And I had no backup plan. I didn't know what was going to happen. I still thought I had no transferable skills. It was really a very scary moment for me. So I decided to get in at the bottom rung of a corporate job. I knew I wanted to go corporate, but I didn't know how to do it. So I just decided to start at the bottom. So I started applying for a bunch of reception positions. And I ended up landing a job as a receptionist at a law firm in downtown Seattle. But that was also, I knew it was a dead-end job, just not what was quite meant for me. There wasn't a lot of career trajectory. So I would help with odd jobs here and there. I'd grab little projects where I could. And using that strategy, I went from receptionist to accounting clerk to accounting lead to assistant office manager, and just sort of worked my way up. But I also hit a dead end there as well, because it's a very small organization. And I realized there was only so much career trajectory that you could have at an organization so small. Plus, it had a lot of problems, a lot of internal problems that made it very challenging to have much career trajectory. So I knew that I needed to get out, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't know, in my mind, I thought, oh, I only have this one corporate experience. Who would possibly want me with this experience? So I was searching for my next move. Like, what is this transition that I'm going to make? I know I need to make a transition, but what does that look like? And I recalled having this conversation with my boss at the time where she said, you'd be a great project manager. And at the time, I didn't think much about it. But when I really actively started thinking about making a transition, I pulled it from the back of my brain and started thinking about it. And I thought, let's look into this. Let's see what this is. And the more I looked at it, the more I was like, I do have the personality for this. I'm very organized. I love leading teams. And the more I looked at it, the more I was like, I can translate my skills and my experience to this. So I decided to do two things. I decided to get my PMP, and I decided to hire a professional to help me. I hired a professional resume writer because I knew that if I took the PMP, that's great. But if I can't articulate and demonstrate the experience behind it, it was really useless. So I hired this resume writer, and I'm not kidding, she changed my life. She translated my skills and experience to project management in a way that I just never would have been able to. Just did an absolutely killer job. And that happened at a very fortuitous time, because it was immediately after that I kind of got hit by this triple whammy. I got divorced, and then I lost my job. And kind of the cherry on top of all of this was that it was when we were in a global pandemic. This was November of 2020. I lost my job, and I was terrified because nobody knew what was going to happen at this time. The job market was terrible. I had very little savings. So I actually had to leave everything I knew in Seattle. I left my home, my friends, everything I had known for years, and had to move back home. And I moved in with my little sister in Missouri. And that really gave me a lot of motivation to get it together. And the resume really paid off because I had a consistent stream of interviews, even in such a tough economy. And I think it only took me a couple months actually to land my first actual job as a project manager. And it was also at a law firm. So I have this history of doing things within a law firm. And I thought, I've arrived. I'm a project manager now. I can relax. I can chill. But it was about 3 months into that job when something just started to feel really wrong. I was getting zero traction with any of my stakeholders. My projects weren't moving. I wasn't really getting great feedback. And I realized it was because I had never actually been a project manager before. Like, I had the credentials, and I rearranged my background to look like project management experience, but real world project management is very different than what the PMBOK would make you think it is. So I really struggled there, and I struggled to the point of about 9 months in, they put me on a performance improvement plan, and it just shattered my confidence. It was a really tough hit for me because I had lost my last job, and now I'm on a performance improvement plan, and this is just not the vision that I have of myself. And once you've been put on a performance improvement plan, there's very little chance that you can come back from that. So I just decided, you know what? Fresh start. I'm going to go somewhere else. And the resume writer that I had hired a little over a year ago at this point, she had also done my LinkedIn profile. She optimized it for project management. And it was once I had been put on this PIP program that a recruiter reached out to me and she said, "Hey, your profile looks amazing for this job that we have. We think you'd be a good fit." And I took this attitude of, this job is mine. I created a very customized plan for myself based on my experience and what I knew about the company and job seeking strategies, interviewing strategies. And I ended up landing that job. And that's where I am now. It's at K&L Gates. And I knew that I wanted to make sure that I hit the ground running when I started this job. So I hired a career coach to help me. And he held my hand through the first 90 days as a new project manager at this organization. So it was very helpful because he understood project management. He was specifically a project management career coach. He understood how to navigate this huge organization that I had been dropped into. He understood politics. He helped me with everything. And just knowing that I had someone there, like a sounding board to bring my problems to and to talk things through with, was incredibly helpful. So it was with his help that I did hit the ground running, and I really succeeded very quickly there. I got promoted to the senior level in under 2 years, very quickly, a very fast timeline. My project started succeeding. I was getting traction with stakeholders. Just everything started going really, really well. So that's how I got to where I am today. I'm a senior legal project manager at K&L Gates. I actually run the firm's largest portfolio. It's their largest client. And I love it. I love what I do. I love the people I work with. It's a job that's very well suited for me. And I made this decision that I was going to use all of the lessons that I learned in my, challenging career trajectory, along with my PMP, to get certified as a career coach. So I could help people do the same thing that I did, help people go from these dead-end jobs to a job that really lights them up, and to make a transition. So certified as a career coach, and that's what I do. It's my passion project on the side.
Now, it took almost 13 minutes, all these 13 minutes are completely valuable. I didn't stop with the reason being is I was devoted this one. Now, when we say starting from your cake decoration, that part, completely non-technical one, and the trajectory what you had and currently where you are, we see a lot of changes. The one thing I really admired is you never stopped, and that's the one good thing. Second is the willingness and the willpower that you had to make it happen, as you said. So you love your job and you didn't stop there. So I would say first important thing is it's realizing your purpose, what exactly you want to do. As early as you can realize this one, that it's really better for you. And now I have one thing to understand here. From the non-technical background to the technical, and now you're working as a career coach. The lot of transitions here and lot of learnings.
Mhm.
So one thing what I say is having a strong interpersonal skill will certainly help you, and the power skills which you can transfer from your current job to your next one. Regardless of you're working as a project manager or into leadership or into technical background, whatever it may be, you need to understand what are the power skills you have now which you can transfer to the later job, your future job. So on that note, how do you feel, what are the different power skills that you had when you started your career as part of the cake decorative, and slowly when you transition to project manager, what are the different power skills it helped you to transition to this career path?
Mm. It's an excellent question. So, one of the skills that I really took from cake decorating into the corporate world and into project management was organization. Being organized is huge, because when you have a 5-tier wedding cake that's due for someone's biggest day of their lives, it's very important that you deliver that on time and that you deliver it as they expect to see it, to their exact specifications. So organization was really huge. Planning, making sure that I created all of the elements at the right time. Some cakes are incredibly complicated. They require sugar flours that you have to make days ahead of time. So you really have to be organized and planned and do a lot of planning to be a cake decorator. And I took those and really moved those into the corporate realm.
That's great. That's great. And when we talk about one thing, that's be consistent whatever you are doing. So you are one of the brightest example for that. You never stopped working or chasing your dream. So now when you are in a position where you are identifying what exactly the career path that you must go for or you choose on, so what were the strategies that helped you a lot during that time? And let's say people are there from those who would like to transition their career from technical background to a project manager or a leadership position. Now,
Mhm.
what strategies or tips you would like to share for all of them?
Yeah. So I have a few transitions here. Transition from cake decorator to project or to corporate, and then within the corporate realm to project management specifically. So when I got to the point where I hit the ceiling at the first law firm that I worked for and decided that it was time to pick a career path very specifically, I started asking myself some questions. And that was, what do I love about my job right now? And what do I hate about my job right now? And it really started with that so that I could steer away from careers that had some of these things that I hated, like data entry or sending repetitive emails, commanding very little political capital. Like I did not like all of those things versus the things that I liked, like data analysis and charts and graphs and process improvement. I knew that I loved these things. So that was the first step, was to think about, what do I love? What do I hate? And then move in the direction of what I decided that I loved.
So it's a good point, and this is certainly, in other terms, we can say the skill gap analysis. So what you are currently, at, and where you would like to be. So if you do that gap analysis, and certainly short analysis will help you to understand your strengths and your likes, dislikes in terms of your career path. And once we
Mhm.
do so, the output will, it's nothing but your journey forward that you would like to make. So that's brilliant. Now, could you please share you something from a personal journey and the pivotal moments that led you to where you are today? Now, certainly we have discussed this one. Now, if you could point out that as we discuss, we have to do the skill gap analysis. As you mentioned, the first point, it's the spot on. Similarly, what else we can do to understand our current stage versus where you want to be?
Yes. So deciding what you want is, it's a complicated process. So you mentioned the skill gap analysis, which is incredibly important. What skills do I have and what skills do I need to acquire? But I think that comes down the line. First, you need to decide, what is it that you want to do? And that really starts with looking inside, with looking at yourself, with the, what do I like and what do I not like? And then we get into the realm of, okay, now that we know what I like, here are some options that are in alignment with my skills, or things that I enjoy doing, things that light me up. It's much easier to transition into a job where you enjoy it rather than something that you're forcing. So another very important thing to think about when you're thinking about, okay, what transition am I going to make? What does my ideal job look like? Is, how feasible is it? And that's where the skill gap assessment comes in. What skills do I have? What skills do I need? Do I need some sort of certification? Do I have the proper education? Does my experience line up? For example, I was in the accounting department for quite a while. I thought about getting my CPA. But when I looked into it, it was going to require me to go back to college. I had 2 college degrees. I was not interested in going back to college. So I quickly scrapped that one. That was not feasible for me. But when I looked at the PMP certification, project management, that was feasible. That was something that I just had to really study for. I think it cost around $600 for the test and all of the things I needed to study, but it was obtainable. So that really played a huge role in thinking about what should I do? Whether CPA or project manager, I probably would have been equally happy, but it was that feasibility assessment, that skill gap assessment. And I was also asking myself, how much money do I want to get paid? I think it's important. I think it is important to understand what kind of life do you want to live and what career is going to support that. So it's really a combination of these things that help make the assessment of where you are now to where you want to be.
That's great. You know, and every time we must understand where to start. It's a big question. People they have the dreams. They would like to make a career transition from certain point to certain another point. However, they are interested about it, but they don't know where to start. On that note, so could you share some strategies, for gaining confidence during a career transition, especially when we are in uncertainty, given this period,
Mm-hmm.
early 2022 we have witnessed a lot of layoffs. In a post pandemic, the culture of working it changed. People started working remotely, and slowly the uncertainty has raised now,
Mm-hmm.
right? So given this uncertainty, what are some strategies that you have, you can share with our audience today?
So, some strategies for navigating career transition in a challenging market. Is that the question?
Yep.
Okay. It is a challenging market right now. And it's interesting that I think you mentioned confidence. How can you navigate this transition confidently? And this concept of confidence and doing something confidently is something I've been very intrigued by because I really lacked confidence at the beginning of my career. And as I moved on, I gained a lot of confidence. And I look back and I think, why? How did that happen? How did I become this confident person? And as I looked at it, I came to the conclusion of, well, I just decided. I just decided to be this confident person. And it didn't make a lot of sense. And it doesn't really resonate, I think, with people when I say I just decided to be confident. But I was listening to this podcast by Mel Robbins where she talks about confidence, the science of confidence. And the interesting thing is that confidence actually is not an emotion. It's not a feeling. Confidence is an action. So, being confident in and of itself is the willingness to try, to put yourself out there, even though you might fail, even though something might go wrong. You might fall, you might get put on a performance improvement plan. You might do the interview and they'll, say you're not a good fit. But if you're not willing to try to begin with, nothing is going to happen. There's going to be zero movement. So the ability to try first and then to get the help that you need. I think it's incredibly important when the market is hard to get support. Get support from a mentor, get support from your network, get support from people who have done the thing that you are trying to do. People want to help. That's one of the biggest things that I've seen. Even if you reach out to complete strangers, if you make an effort to make some sort of connection, oh, hey, I see that you went to this college. I went to that college too. Or, hey, I see that you used to be in the hospitality industry and now you're a project manager. I want to do the same thing. I'd love to hear your story. What's one piece of advice that you could give to someone who's trying to repeat the same thing? And if you make it easy for people and you really show interest in them and what they are doing, they will share their knowledge 100%. So it's very important to seek out your own support network from people like that and from professionals, from coaches who have been there. They know what they're doing and they can help you navigate that transition with confidence.
That's true. It's always the willingness to try which will put you forward, regardless whether
Mhm.
you fail or people judge you in a negative way or things won't happen or you won't be financially so strong. But give it a try. Once you give it a try, things will fall on your way. That's what, for last couple of episodes, we were discussing on similar note as well. And also, when you mention in terms of mentoring and coaching, you can reach out to certain strangers, but to understand how you can start the discussion or the momentum, you can certainly pick any point which will be a point of engagement. Like, let's say,
Mhm.
as you mentioned one example, you both shared similar interests, or previously you shared similar organization, probably different branches, or departments. You can pick up anything which resonates with them and you can start the conversation that
Mhm.
would help them create the interest. And it's not so robotic automation that you put in, the copy paste things. It certainly won't work, you know
Yeah.
so on the other note, building confidence is much important. And second important thing is, once you start, so starting point is always important, so you have to start. But the other point here is keep up the momentum and being consistent. So on
Yes.
that note, when we discuss about this one, so how can individuals maintain the momentum and stay motivated? It's one of the greatest, I would say, toughest thing to do so. So what would be your thought, so how people can stay motivated throughout the process of transition to a new career?
Yes. I love this question. Um, I love this question because one of my absolute favorite books that I've read multiple times is called The Motivation Myth. And the premise of the entire book, which I completely agree with, is that motivation in and of itself is not real. It doesn't exist in that it is a self-productive. You can't just decide to be motivated. Motivation actually comes from trying, taking steps, and seeing little bits of progression. So, for example, when you're trying to lose 10 pounds, it's really difficult to start. It's really difficult to start eating well and start working out. But when you start seeing that progress, that's the motivator. When you see yourself losing the weight. And it's the same with the career journey. So, at first, you might not be getting a lot of traction. Then you make some small changes, or you hire a coach, or you reach out to people in your network. And then, oh, all of a sudden, you start to get some traction with recruiters. All right, we're getting traction with recruiters, but we're not actually making it to the next round of the interview. It's these little bits of moving forward that are the real motivators. And it's solving this puzzle as you move forward. These are the things that motivate you. Now, what's hard is when you don't see that forward momentum, right? You're on your 200th
Right.
application and you still haven't seen anything from a recruiter. You haven't gotten any traction with recruiters. That will kill your motivation because you're not seeing that progression. That is when it's time to start reaching out and start getting help if you haven't done so already, because there's something in your process that isn't quite going right. And as long as you are willing to continue to try and implement new tools, new techniques into your process, you'll see the changes. And when you start to see the changes, that's where the motivation comes from. So it really comes after the initial trying part.
So the first node, or the starting point, is you have to start. And once you are in the journey, you when you see smaller things you achieve, you fulfill the things, and you see yourself success on achieving the smallest milestone, or the items. That's when you become more confident. And
Mhm.
it's one of the most important factor of this motivation. So,
Absolutely.
and whenever the negative things, like, you don't see the progression, that's when you need to think differently. It's not about quitting the things, but it's you have to think differently.
Exactly.
How can you reach out to the people in a different way? What sort of different things you can do? So just one option what we have, quitting, you remove it. You just think, we don't have this option, I cannot go ahead to do this one. But
Mhm.
try things differently, which will help you to become more motivated. So
Absolutely. The
again,
worst
on
thing
that
you
note,
can do is quit.
correct, yeah. So you know, once you start this one, you know your flaws as well as your strengths, and what you have and what you need. You are working on that. So during this transition process, it's very important to be honest with you, to be kind to you, as well as honest within the industry or the market. you know so on that note, so how do you make sure you are being honest while still standing out when looking for a job or a
Mhm.
career transition?
Yes. This is where really understanding what your North Star is becomes incredibly important. As a job seeker, if your North Star is, I just want a job, that's actually not going to help you because you're not targeting your audience. You really need to decide very specifically, I want to be a project manager. I want to be a project manager in this niche, or I want to specialize in change management specifically, or I am a project manager who thrives on being a good team leader. Right? This is picking a brand that is in alignment with where you want to go. Because if you are not in alignment with your North Star, with your ideal job, what's going to happen is that you are going to throw, either you're going to be dishonest, which I never, ever, that you should never do that, or you're going to just throw everything from your background onto your resume and not have any direction that you're headed in. Recruiters are looking for, where does your experience overlap with the job description? All right, this overlap is what is incredibly important. So it's very important to understand, what is my North Star job, and to look at that and to overlap your experience, the experience that you do have, with that job. This is where a professional can be incredibly helpful, and why I decided myself to hire a professional resume writer, and then later on down the road became a professional resume writer, because it's so important to be able to take what you have and translate it to that ideal job in an authentic way. And if you're not authentic about it, you're just shooting yourself in the foot, because that will come off in an interview. People will be able to see through any inauthenticity. Any lies will absolutely shine through, because you won't speak about it from a place of excitement and a place of authenticity and a place of authority. So you're really doing yourself a favor by ensuring that you're being honest in how your skills translate. You might just need a professional to help you sometimes.
That's true. Again, if you are not able to meet the market standard what you have, so certainly you can go ahead and reach out in terms of building your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and other stuff, which will certainly help you to showcase your own identity. And slowly, when you work on this one, you will gain knowledge, or you'll become an expert down the line of probably 6 months or 1 year. But you have to be honest with yourself. So on that note, what's your experience in terms of utilizing LinkedIn effectively for job search, to building
Mhm.
your professional brand or personal brand?
Mhm. Excellent question. When it comes to your LinkedIn profile and what recruiters are looking for, it is surprising where recruiters spend most of their time. They actually spend most of their time initially on your banner, that big horizontal picture that's behind your face. It's behind your profile picture. This is incredibly valuable landscape on your LinkedIn profile that people often overlook. Either they don't put it there and they're using the blue LinkedIn standard, or they just slap one of the other standardized LinkedIn banners on there, and it's such a waste of this very valuable real estate. Um, so it's very important that you put a brand on your LinkedIn banner that is in alignment with what you are targeting. Project management, or teamwork as a project manager, or a specific industry. And putting on there, project manager, so that they can see very instantly, they're like, oh, this is the brand that you're putting forward. So that's a huge one, is the banner. The headline is another one that's very, very important, and putting your keywords in there. I encourage anyone and everyone to go on Google and look at LinkedIn Recruiter, and then just go to images. LinkedIn Recruiter is what recruiters use to look for candidates. And you can see pictures of it out there, and you'll get a very clear understanding of what they're looking for. They're typing in keywords into specific areas of LinkedIn Recruiter. So one of them, they will type in project manager into the title field, and they can actually choose current title or past title or both. So to get the title of project manager somewhere in your past titles, incredibly important. And to your last point about being honest, do be honest, okay? If you were, so in my example, I was an assistant office manager for a while. There's a strategy. If there's a little vertical bar that you can use on your keyboard. So I would put assistant office manager, vertical bar, project manager, because I did manage projects within that position. That is truthful. But I put my actual title first because, again, that was my actual title. But now we're leveraging the power of how how recruiters use LinkedIn to find people. So that's very important, is understanding the keyword searches and how recruiters use LinkedIn.
That's a brilliant one. So I didn't know even this is one of the trick where we have to have the title in place, either in the past or somewhere you have worked. But that's a good one. So one other important thing is mentorship. When you are in the process of career transition, you must need the mentorship. Either you go ahead and reach out to some of the professional one, you can hire them, or you can leverage LinkedIn, one of the biggest platform that we have, to go ahead and reach out to people, those who are working on the similar portfolio or the department, and you can leverage that. So if somebody is willing for the second option, now what would be your steps or some tips, like do's and don'ts while reaching out to people for mentorship assistance?
Yes. While reaching out to mentors, do make it easy. If it's someone that you think might be a very busy individual, first recognizing after you've connected, hey, I understand that you're probably really busy. Okay, so connect with them in that way. I'm trying to make a jump from X to Y. It looks like you've done the same. If you could just give me one piece of advice, what is the one piece of advice that you could give someone who is trying to make this transition? If you could just take 30 seconds to respond to that, it would really make my day. All right, make it easy on them, as easy as you possibly can. Do build rapport. Do say, oh, we both went to the same school, or oh, we have the same connection. Oh, we both used to work at this place. Oh, we both lived in Seattle for a little bit. How did you like it? I recently reached out to someone who was a recruiter and noticed that they moved to Seattle 3 years ago from Miami. I had nothing in common with this person, but when they connected, I was like, oh, I see that you moved from Miami. You can't possibly get any further away within the United States. How was that transition for you? Asking them about themselves, things about themselves, very, very important. Don't immediately just ask for a referral, or don't just immediately ask them for something without first giving or trying to make a connection, right? People really respond very well to connecting with them. Be authentic, all right? This can be a lot of fun. Creating these connections with people can be fun. I understand for some people, it can also be exhausting, and do be aware of your energy levels, right? If something like this takes a lot of energy from you, Be aware of when you have the most energy throughout the day. If you're a morning person, do this in the morning. If you're an evening person, do this in the evening. But it is important. And one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give on networking and asking for mentorship is to do it before you need it. The worst time to be asking for mentorship or help is when you absolutely need it. And I learned this lesson the hard way, a very hard way. But as much as you can be building your network and asking for mentorship now while things are good, the better you're going to be if things do go sideways later on down the road.
That's great. Again, it takes a lot of time, energy, and you have to be honest with them, very authentic. You cannot go ahead and very straightforward that you need something, because that won't create that rapport or that connection point, where people will be willing to support you or help you in terms of your journey. So just make them feel like, okay, you are reaching out to them for some reason, and you share your some similarities or interests. Slowly you build up the communication, but do not jump or too rush to ask for help. That's
Exactly.
a brilliant point again. So when we talk about career transition, being honest, being confident, and being kind of motivated, it's all important. One of the other important aspect is keep learning. you know if you are working as a software developer who is willing to move to project management, or working as a project manager who willing to move to program manager, similarly for other career transitions, learning is one of the important aspect. So what would be your thought on this one? What points you would say, why and how important it is to learning things while you are working,
Mm-hmm.
irrespective of your job or your position, but you have to keep on learning things.
Absolutely. And the world is moving so fast with the
Right.
implementation of AI and all of this automation. Learning quickly becomes even more important. Staying on top of particularly the technology in your industry. It's very, very important. Um, so, to that end, one of the biggest things that I have found to be effective in helping you learn is to join groups that are of similar interest. So, for
That's true.
example, I'm a member of Law Vision. This is the woman who runs Law Vision is like the authority on project management in the legal world. She holds regular roundtables. She facilitates small group discussions all over the country. She just does a lot. She teaches project management in legal. So being a part of this community and showing up to the events that are hosted by this community, it's incredibly important. It's an hour of my time once a month where I come and see what are the other professionals in my industry doing? What are they up to? It's incredibly important. One of the other things is I don't always think it's necessary to get certifications. Okay. I think people are sometimes overly reliant on certifications. But what I do think is important is understanding some of the underlying concepts underneath those certifications. You don't necessarily have to get your PMP, right? But to understand project management tools and techniques, and maybe even to apply for the PMP to demonstrate, like to get approved and to demonstrate, oh, I have the 3 years of experience and I was approved as a candidate. That's very important because now you've demonstrated that you have the experience, you have the willingness to learn, and as you're filling out, applications for the PMP, you are going to learn. So all of these things, just keeping on top of your technology, knowing what other people in your industry are doing, and being willing to at least explore some certifications and what the knowledge that's underneath them, I think are all very important.
That's true. So again, it's always not necessary that you must go for PMP or other prescribed certifications, but it always better if you start learning those things. It will help you to apply those technical or theoretical stuff in your project management journey, and you can leverage all the best practices to make your project success. So
Hmm.
that's the end goal, actually.
Yeah.
That's good one. So again, when we are discussing about career transition, there are a lot of things one can be juggling with. Some may have learnings in place. They may or might kind of working on a critical project, so they are not devoting much time or dedication towards the learning. But one important thing is prioritization here. You have to prioritize your daily routine so that you have to know for stipulated time you can fix and you can dedicate it towards your career transition. And this is one of the toughest thing, prioritizing and understanding which is priority for me now for during this transition period. So what would be your suggestion? How would you suggest those who are entry level project managers to prioritize their task according to the value they are willing to get sooner? It's all associated with the value.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to break this into two categories. How do you generally prioritize versus how do you prioritize within your first 90 days or as a new project manager? These are kind of two different things. Your priorities in your first 90 days and how you organize your priorities are going to be very different than when you get past
That's
that
true.
first 90 days and now you're executing. So, your first 90 days, you want to be very focused on learning, okay? Everything about that organization. You are scouring their internal website, any documents you have access to, learning the processes that they use in detail, learning the tools that they use, and assessing which of these might I need. All right, just assess at first. The learning part can come later. But first, understanding what is at your fingertips that the organization has. What are the departments that are here? What do those departments do? Who might I need to interface with at these departments at any time? Right? So you are really diving deep and trying to learn about the organization that you are in. Now, the other huge thing in your first 90 days is building relationships. I think so many people tend to overlook this, especially once they've gotten the job. Never stop building relationships. Never stop building your network, especially when you start at a new job. What departments might I need to interface with? Who within those departments might I need to interface with? And then you start setting up coffee meetings with them. And it's not just the coffee meetings. You need to go in with good questions. What are you working on? What is important to you right now? Who else in this organization do you think I should talk to? What's one piece of advice that you could give to someone who's new to this organization? Really making sure you're using that time well, not just as a, oh, hey, nice to meet you. Yes, it is nice to meet you, but also go in with a plan. What are you trying to establish with that person? What are you trying to learn? Because your relationships, especially as a project manager where you have no real authority, it's key to everything. So that's prioritization in your first 90 days, right? These are very different from when you're prioritizing as an active project manager. As an active project manager and a very busy one, I use the Pareto principle all the time, which is the
Right.
80-20 rule. Yeah. Um, what is the 20% of effort that will get 80% of the results? A lot of times where we are right now, that's going to be trying to put some emphasis on automating things. How can I
Right.
automate certain aspects of what I am doing now so that I can free up my time to work on things that cannot be automated? Or what is like the one thing? What is the one thing that I could do this week that would make everything else easier, not just for me, but for everybody on the project team that I'm serving. The 80/20 rule, I think, is really valuable, and it's something that I'm constantly assessing.
That's true. That's good one. And I think it's 10 minutes left. However, I would like to go ahead with one more topic, which is much important one. Understanding about or having a big picture in mind that about our office politics. You know,
Mm.
often people got caught, in this. It's I would say it's that one of the negative thing that may happen to anyone, or knowingly or unknowingly we have to deal with this one, and you have to be very cautious during this thing. So how would you, or what are the different tips you would like to suggest to people so that they can avoid office politics, or they just stay ahead or out of it? I would say not ahead, out of it.
Well, these are two different things, staying out of it versus if you're pulled into it, how do you deal with it? This is one of
Right.
the most challenging things in corporate, I think, and something that people come to me often concerned about. I can't play the game. I don't know how to play the game. I feel like the game is being rigged against me. Um, One of the biggest things you can do is, I already touched on it, building relationships,
Yeah.
solid, positive relationships with people before you ever need anything from them. So this requires you to really think about, who could I ever possibly need to interface with? One of the things that I am really fond of doing is, I work mostly remote. So whether it's remote or whether you're in person, you can still do this. Um, I will actually send a $10 gift card to Starbucks ahead of our virtual coffee chat. It's just building a little bit of rapport. Hey, thanks for your time. I know it's valuable. Coffee is really on me. This isn't just some 30 minutes where I'm wasting your time. Here's a coffee. I hope you enjoy it. Or if you do go out with them, trying to make sure you pay. And this is a subtle, this is utilizing a subtle human tendency, which is reciprocation. We are wired to reciprocate to the people in our network. So if you're doing this small gesture of a coffee, people want to pay you back for that. So that's something that I do often, even with people I already know. If they went above and beyond to help me with something, same thing. $10, $20 Starbucks gift card. Thank you so much. I appreciate what you did. And that goes a really long way. So that's just solidifying your relationships, which really helps when it comes to navigating politics. One of the other things is assessing, within the people who have the most power over your job, aligning yourself with them as much as possible, and not in a fake way, but
Yes.
in a very, how can I help you sort of way, or, how can we work together to accomplish the goals that we're trying to accomplish sort of way. But understanding the power dynamics within your organization and making sure that you're trying to align yourself with that appropriately are very important. How do you stay out of office politics? I don't know that you necessarily can. I think that to stay out of office politics is to keep your head down and not interact with people. And I don't recommend that. I don't think that's the best way to go. You need to interact with people, and with people comes politics. It is just part of what it is. But if you are proactive and you are shoring up your relationships constantly, I think you can really get ahead of that in a positive way.
That's a valid point actually. You have to build relationships, and you have to be honest again, and before you need something from them, start building the rapport and the relationship which will last longer. And having meaningful conversations certainly will help and everyone to just you can get out of it,
Mhm.
you know or you can deal with it. That's good one. So we have covered pretty much most of the things, and we started with understanding your experience, your journey, which is so inspiring. So to summarize things, one important thing is there's no good day, there's no good, better time, or too late or too early. You start it now. So whenever you have some thoughts in your mind, and you, by doing some research or analysis, you identify, okay, this is what one of the things which I am interested in, I would like to go ahead, start it. And when you make progress on your journey, you, that will help you stay motivated. When things not working in your favor, or you see some negativity, try things differently rather than quitting it. If you quit, things are gone. But if you try things differently, you reach out to people, you ask help, you take mentorship, you hire somebody who can help you get your job done, that will certainly help you to be there. And also, we discuss, just be honest to people, to the market, to your employer, and to yourself. And all above, being kind to yourself is much important. Don't be so rude, so harsh. It's completely okay. If you cannot run, try to walk. If you cannot walk, try to scramble, but be in the race. It's not necessary that you have to run every time or you have to walk, but it's important to you be in the track. So this conversation, it's so again fruitful. Personally learned a lot. So now, given our time, let's move our discussion to something little different. Now we'll understand our speaker Kyla in a better way. So to start with, as we discuss, what piece of advice, it's very very important to start with, but I would like to understand, if you wish you could give a piece of advice to your younger self, what it could be.
I love that. That's such a good question. One piece of advice that I would give to my younger self: every hardship that you have ever gone through and that you will go through is building up to something. While it is hard at the time and it might feel like the world is ending, you will learn valuable skills and valuable lessons that you will take into the future and will help you be a stronger, better version of yourself. That's what I would tell the younger version of me.
That's a great one. And always, if you are open to accept positivity as well as negativity, that's what makes a human being. Above all, we are humans, and we have to be human beings. So we have to taste both the flavors, positivity, negativity, and everything. So for that, you have to just revive. You have to open yourself and accept everything. And end of the day, you will overcome, no problem. But you have to keep on trying. That's a brilliant suggestion. And the other thing, when we move forward, so what is a fun fact or interesting fact about you that most people wouldn't able to guess?
Fun fact about me, I am an avid salsa dancer in my free time. I love salsa dancing. It's just a passion of mine, and it's a way for me to break free of my corporate personality. It's very freeing and a very exciting thing to do. So I think a lot of people who know me now don't know that about me.
So it's a good one. It's again interesting. So have you recently gone to any performance, or so kind of you go for any performance, or it's just that your hobby and you like to dance at your spare time?
It's just a hobby. I do so much performing at my job. I don't want to do it in my spare time, but I just go for fun.
That's great. So what's one of the most adventurous thing that you have ever done, and would you do it again?
Hmm. The most adventurous thing I've ever done. My goodness, that's a good question. I think the answer to that is I'm a very risk adverse person. I'm not super adventurous. Um, yeah, that it's a very boring answer because I tend to not take a lot of risks. I would say that the biggest risk I ever took was out of college. I got 2 degrees and then decided to be a cake decorator. Did it work out for me? No. Would I do it again? Absolutely, because I think that, again, all of the lessons that I learned throughout that made me who I am today. So I would definitely do it again.
That's great. So anything that you might have thought like, okay, my friends are doing, my colleagues are doing this thing, and you have inspired from something, and which is there in your bucket list you would like to share?
Anything on my bucket list from what my friends are doing? I might like to start a YouTube channel. I think you have that.
That's a good one.
Yeah, yeah, my partner is doing that, and I love to share my experiences and my knowledge, my skills with people, so I think that would be something I'd be interested in doing.
That's awesome. It's again a rewarding one, and it's one of the great platforms where you can showcase your skills, your on online presence. So certainly it will be helpful. Yeah. So now again, one of the important questions that what I personally love is: do you have a favorite quotation or a motto that inspires you in your daily life?
Mm, my favorite my favorite motto is more of a mind frame of being present. I'm very much someone who is aware of my thoughts and how they impact my decisions. So it's not so much a quote as, being aware of the thoughts that you're having throughout the day and how those thoughts are making you feel, because that's really going to have a huge impact on the rest of your day.
That's good one.
Yeah.
So the another question on the same note. So, what is the biggest or the best pieces of advice you have received ever, and how has it influenced your life?
Hmm. The best piece of advice I have ever received. When I was laid off in 2020, my dad said to me, "Life is a river." And at the time, I thought this was so silly, but he said, "Life is a river and you have to go with the flow." And I kind of pushed back on him and I was like, "Yeah, but what if life, pushes me into a rock?" And he's like, "Well, paddle around the rock. Don't let it just, slam you against the rock. You have to paddle around it, but don't paddle against it. Don't try to go against the current. Go with the flow, have faith where life is taking you, steer around the obstacles, but know that there is a trajectory in where you're going."
It's so inspiring, and it's also associated with time. And the worst part of time is it changes. It cannot it will not last forever, and the good part of it is it passes away.
Hmm. Yeah.
So if you understand this change, or this phenomena, certainly you will be able to enjoy your life, and regardless of the negativity or positivity you get. So it's a brilliant one. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's really inspiring, Kyla. So with this, we would like to conclude our show. So everyone, we have discussed many things about career transition. We have learned Kyla's journey, which is much inspiring, and you can learn a lot from her. You can take a lot of points from this particular episode, and you can certainly apply in your life. So first thing, to summarize: never wait for a good day or a good time. Nothing like that. You start it today. Once you start it, once you make progress, and that progression will motivate you. And in case you run into some negativity, things are not happening according to what you wanted or your desire, just try things differently. That will help. And yeah, thanks for watching your time. Thanks, Kyla, for your time. And it was really fruitful and engaging and inspirational discussion today. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Sunil, for having me and for giving me a platform to share my experiences. I'm so thrilled. Thank you.
I'm sure people will learn a lot from it. And it is one of the best podcasts that we had as of now. So thanks for your time. And I really enjoyed it personally. Hope you everyone did so. So yeah, thanks everyone. And happy weekend, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you, Sunil.
Yeah. Bye now.